here? Yes.
Moon this month. Oh.
Hello. Hi, Valerie.
Hello.
We're here again for a new moon reading, and it is the 25th of February, 2020. And we have just had a new moon this weekend on the 23rd or 24th, depending where you are in the country, in the world, not in the country, sorry. It's a new moon in Pisces, which is a water sign. Very watery, very emotional, very intuitive. So there may be some more movement into this kind of deep diving that we did last month with the swan and the shadow queen. There was all the stuff that came up last month that was about sort of going within. So there may be more of that continuing. But we're going to get into the reading, I think. Right, Valerie?
Sure.
Yeah.
Sounds
Is there
good to
anything you want to say about the moon? Have you had any sense of this moon, or?
I truly have not.
Okay.
Really. Nothing.
Well,
Just
then
living life, you know.
we'll just get to it. I'm using the same decks as I did last month, which is the Gaia Oracle by Tony Carmine Salerno, which is my theme card. And then I'm going to pull two from each, the Good Tarot and the Animal Spirit Oracle by Colette Baron Reed.
Oh, okay. Cool.
Yeah. One for each week.
I think my theme card I'm pulling from Denise Lynn's Sacred Traveler Oracle.
Oh, that's a good one. Yeah.
And then the other cards I'm just going to say pull from the Akashic Tarot.
Oh, okay, lovely.
By Sharon Ann Klinger and Sandra Ann Taylor, sisters. So
cool.
Yeah.
So we'll do the same format as we did last time. We'll do a theme card, and then we'll do one card for each week of this new moon cycle. And we will pull them simultaneously and then talk about the cards together. All right. So I'm ready when you are. So
okay,
we'll go for a theme. Nope, not that one. Ooh, exciting.
Go ahead.
Okay, I've got 41, Amethyst, and she's about transformation, certainty, and confidence.
Ah.
So it breaks down to a 5. So there's change. But look how she's standing in the water, which feels very Piscean, you know? So it ties in with that whole idea of this Pisces new moon. And transformation, that certainly makes a lot of sense because we've been doing a lot of clearing. And I found February to be an incredibly intense month energetically. Like I've had a lot of just really strange ups and downs, but lots of grief, stuff moving through. And there's always transformation when you're feeling the feelings and then opening up to whatever perspective, whatever it brings through. I like that the light's behind her. Oops, the light's behind her too. So it's like the sun is coming out. She's emerging from the water. She's emerging from this period of being cleansed. This is quite cathartic in a way. So that's this theme for this Pisces new moon, which makes a lot of sense with the water energy. Yeah.
Mine's Great Adventure.
Ooh.
Again, water. It's a Viking boat. Take a risk and venture forward.
Cool. Huh.
So it's interesting. The feeling I'm getting from it is, even though we're in Mercury retrograde and all this kind of stuff, it's still a good time to keep moving and being excited. Like we might have talked about before, is feel the excitement for where we're heading and where we're going, even if we don't know what it is. The excitement's going to bring it to us.
Yeah.
So
I love that you can't see where they're going, but you just know there's something ahead. There's these choppy waters at the moment, but they're just paddling into the unknown. So, I mean, that's what like transformation is about too, is allowing things to be different. Just move on into the unknown leave
Well,
it
yeah,
at that
not like
time.
the confidence, certainty, and take a risk, venture forward. So just don't stay wherever you're at. Don't stay stuck. I mean, doesn't mean you're going to buy a ticket and go somewhere, but it means to get out of your little comfort zone or try something new, even if it's just changing up the route you take to work or,
Yeah.
which hand you brush your teeth with. I mean, anything just to move that energy and make it fresh this next
Yeah.
month. Hmm.
And the word confidence is actually like with trust in, or with faith in, great faith in. And it doesn't necessarily have to be in yourself, but it can be in the journey. It can be in spirit. It can be in, whatever is happening. So it's cool that confidence came up with that idea of trusting the adventure. Trust that you have done what you need to get to this point and move forward from here. That's pretty cool. That's a good way to.
Yeah, and we beat up on ourselves so much about we go to the negative always, and we don't. While we're cruising along on our Viking ship, I mean, take the time to look at how far you've come and what you've done and the things you've overcome and all that. It's an important thing that many of us don't take the time to do. We're always pushing, 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 and beating up on ourselves when it's a good time to start having the confidence and the I forget the other words on your card, but that
Certainty.
help
Yeah.
certainty. That you've done the best you can up to this point.
Yeah, it's
So
true. And I guess there's also that sense too that um, confidence builds as you go forward. Like it's that idea of like trust is a kind of fluid experience, because if you choose to trust, if you make the leap into trust, then you will be given more opportunities to trust, right? Because you're shown each time you trust, something else shows up and you trust a little bit more, a little bit more, a little bit more. Whereas if you stay in that comfort zone of just, I'm not going to move beyond this because it's been safe so far, you stop trusting what's outside of that. So it does
and we
feel.
forget that when we're starting anything anew, there's a learning curve. We
Yeah.
don't just pick up the paintbrush and paint a masterpiece.
Right.
Um, and so we're going into new beginnings, a new era, if you will, and the Aquarian age, and even the Pisces. It's give yourself a break and understand that you know there's a learning curve, and you just keep picking yourself up and trying again. It's not ever failure. It's always lessons.
Yeah, that's true.
So
It's very cool. I just noticed too in this card something else. That's the sun reflected, and that's the um, Star of David, I guess, reflected here in the
mhm.
water. So there is this sense of like everything that we've been through has been like different reflections of a deep truth. So we went down into the depths and experienced one aspect of it, and then you come up out of the water and realize that there's a different version of that exists. So it's not that what we were experiencing in emotional depths is wrong, but sometimes your perspective shifts as you come out the other side. So that's part of what this transformation is about. That whatever was before, whatever we might have been lamenting or grieving or experiencing as a challenge, was just a reflection of the truth.
Well, and it's like anything when you said plumbing the depths. I mean, with the water, you take a deep breath and you go down, but you don't stay there.
Mm-hmm.
So even when you're doing deep emotional work, the thing to remember is just don't stay there.
Right.
Come
Don't look
back
back.
up. Yeah, yeah. So yeah, don't just yeah. Anyway, don't stay down in the depths. It's a place to place to find pieces
Yeah.
that have been deeply buried, but pull them
With
back up
it.
with you. Yeah, pull them back up. It's like, kids diving down to the bottom of the pool and finding the coin or something.
Yeah, yeah,
So interesting.
it is.
Cool.
It's fascinating. Yeah, so that's very cool. So we really have a lot of like, for the themes, both of ours seem to coincide, which isn't unusual really when we're doing readings, but coincide with that idea of trust. So now we head into week 1, which is this week, I suppose. Yeah,
Yep.
yeah. Go for it. Number 14. Oh,
14.
another 5.
Yeah, initiation in the Count Saint Germain. And yet again, it's about transformation,
Mm-hmm.
receiving the transformation that we're going into.
Yeah.
And they're standing there it's now. Now is the time. They're standing there receiving this initiation. So it's time for the transformation, and we're being guided and supported in the transformation. And it's exciting. And what's interesting is your card had so much purple in it, and Saint Germain is about purple, the
Right.
purple flame. So,
Yeah. And I
which is
also,
about the higher, purple, higher levels, higher self, that kind
yeah,
of thing. So
the crown chakra connecting. Yeah.
yeah, so it's a transformative week, I'd say.
Yeah. And I think it's interesting too because if you break down the 14 to a 5, the 5 card in the tarot is the Hierophant, and that card really speaks to me of that idea of the Hierophant, of like learning from, connecting with some kind of spiritual, whether it's an institution or a person or just your team of guides and spiritual um, supporters. That's what it brings to mind. That's
Yeah,
fascinating. And I got the 6 of Earth, and I think we had that in our last reading.
I think so.
Oh yes, this was the guy who grew legs when it was time. When it was time to run. Trust that you will grow the legs you need to run
Yeah.
away. Yeah. So it again, there's a sense of trust, but this time it just feels like it's weird because again, there's this sense of stillness. Like we've had this sense of stillness for so long, but there is this feeling of get used to the abundance, right? Because even if you may not be aware of it, because it's just outside of your vision here, your physical third dimensional vision, it's there and it's supporting you. And it's like Spirit is trying to say, they are trying to show you how loved and supported you are, and you're looking the opposite direction. So there is this feeling of like, don't be stubborn in insisting that there's nothing there. So there is this feeling too of maybe some of that change and transformation is going to be this, an inner shift in perspective, and it might be painful in the sense that we have to let go of the idea that we're the only ones holding ourselves back. And that can be a pretty scary recognition sometimes when you realize that all this time you've felt stuck in something. It's because you've not allowed yourself to move beyond it. So yeah, so it really just feels like allowing yourself to receive. It's more about the feeling of knowing that you're fully cared for and fully supported in everything that you do. And it's just there. It's
Well, and
always
it's
there.
funny, it's back to looking at a reflection too, because I think of the big antlers, and like you said, if you got something stuck up here on your antlers, you don't know what it is.
Yeah,
You could have, you know, who knows what all, but
yeah,
unless and until you look in a reflection or have someone reflect it back to you, that's a big piece right there.
yeah, exactly. till someone says, hey, you got a whole bunch of gold hanging from those antlers. And he's like, what? I've been carrying that around for how long? Those
Yeah,
were great.
and thinking it was a burden when it's not. So, I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, it goes right along with,
Yeah.
yeah, appreciating what we have and what we've done and how far we've come.
And trusting that it is there. I know we're constantly told it's there, the support is there, but this is really about deeply, deeply trusting it without having to see evidence of it, right?
Right, right.
Yeah. And that's the hardest kind of trust, to trust when there is no physical evidence. Because that's, well, I mean, people call it blind faith sometimes or whatever, as if it's a bad thing. But I mean, a deep faith, a deep trust in the process of the, not the process, but yeah, the process of creation and in the universal energies that support us. There is no evidence. I mean, there is no evidence that people will be fully satisfied with, but there are always ways that show us that we're in alignment with where we're meant to be. So it's about understanding that the evidence you're looking for may come in a different form, or it may be behind you, out of your line of vision. Yeah, that's the one. Oh, wow. You're not going to believe it. Another 5. Eagle spirit. Spirit has your back. Well, what were we just saying, eh?
Yeah.
But yeah, for me, eagles too, about connecting with spirit. So it's kind of like this sense of, can you see the card? Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Of as if eagle is flying between the realms, bringing back the messages. So it's trusting this idea that you have the capacity to connect, and you may not, it's not always tangible. And I think that tends to freak people out, the idea that, unless I can see and touch and taste it in this dimension, how can it be real? But it is so real. There's amazing people all over the world who connect with beings from all over in different forms and different manifestations. So yeah, it feels very powerful. He's got his little crown on too. So I always feel like the sense of this is about owning your own majestic qualities, like your own special gifts that have been brought to you by spirit. And again, trusting that spirit has you back. You wouldn't be given these gifts if you didn't also have the means in some way to make use of them here and now.
Well, and it goes along with the card I pulled. It's eight of scrolls, and it's paths unknown.
The unknown
So yet again, and there's a little teeny bird, but at each path you have a little animal spirit guide. You have a fox, a squirrel, a raccoon, but she also has her satchel of scrolls.
Right.
So yet again, she has everything she needs with her. It's just trusting and pondering. Which path do you want to take? Do you want to take the really well lit path? Is that perhaps the path other people have taken? Do you want to take a different path? And then understanding that there's no wrong path.
Right.
There's no wrong path. I mean, you can choose to go down one path and go, nah, this isn't for me, and turn around and go back and start down another one.
Yeah.
There's something in us that thinks, oh, you start down the path, you've got to get to the end. And some of us are curious enough to do that, but it's about the journey then.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
But yet again, it's trusting and knowing that there's help and guidance all around. Our internal guidance, our
spirit has your back while
the nature, yeah. So, but it's listening, and she's taking the time to listen, and even the eagle is sitting there pondering. It's not in flight like we might see. So it's listening.
Yeah.
receiving the information, and go with your gut and what feeds your heart. That's the thing. So
Yeah.
that's, yeah, it's
And
pretty cool.
that reflects the theme, your theme, so beautifully, the one that you pulled, because there was
Uh,
that sense of we can't see where the boat's going, but it doesn't matter. You just keep going forward and making choices. And if you
mm-hmm.
if you get to the destination that doesn't feel right, choose another one.
Well, and the interesting thing is too, you brought my focus back to the boat, is where the person here has the animal assistance.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, even a Viking boat. I mean, there's teamwork. You're not alone. You have your oarsmen and
Yeah.
the wind and it's trusting and working with nature
Yeah.
to
And
get where you're going.
they're carved. I can't remember what it's called on the prow of the ship.
I've
The
forgotten
the
to.
figurehead. The
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but I mean that's an animal in that deck too, and the idea that that would guide them in some way.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a trust in that. Yeah,
Right.
that's very cool. So that would be heading into the full moon, wouldn't it?
Right.
So we'll be releasing, and that's a Virgo full moon, and Pisces and Virgo are opposite signs. So you're going from
Ah.
one extreme to the other, really.
Okay.
Interesting. Yeah. But we've had lots of fives so far. 3. It's quite a lot.
Yeah, then the last my card was an 8, and then for the third week for mine is 4 of forces.
Oh, okay, cool. Oh, look at that. Fiery.
And it's spring or autumn, depending on which way it comes up in the deck, and it came up spring.
Spring. Hmm.
Well, what are we heading into? Spring. So it's a time of renewal again,
Mm-hmm.
transformation.
Yeah.
So this is the week of the full moon, past the full moon. So it's I'm hearing just a lot of appreciation. The moon's illuminating. Yes, it's going to be waning, but the moon is there, and we're coming into spring, and it's taking the time to appreciate again where we're going, where we've been, but that having that sense of expectation, knowing that spring is coming and the blooms are coming and the baby birds and all this renewal.
Yeah. Like shedding, because winter's a time of dormancy. So it's like
Mm-hmm.
shedding what happened during the dormant time. I mean, of course, the southern hemisphere is going into the other,
Right.
into the autumn, but because spring came up, could mean that.
Well, yeah, and so if we want to do it for the southern hemisphere, I mean, autumn's equally it's a time of bounty and harvest,
Yeah.
and
And you'll be heading into the dormant time. So
yeah,
hmm,
so yeah, it's a cool card.
it is. And I got the star card. Ah! Um, so that breaks down to an 8. So we've had 2 8s as well.
Mm-hmm.
So that's heading out of the full moon. And look at that.
Yeah.
I always just feel like it's interesting because it's not really a water card, but I mean in some depictions of it there is more water involved and there's reflections, but she's carrying this little urn of water, and to me it feels like that's all you need to take with you. So there is this sense of having been through, sometimes when you're in the tsunami and you're in the depths of the healing, it feels like I better take this all with me, but she's traveling light
Mm-hmm.
because she's learned that she is her most luminous and brightest when she's carrying very little. So there is that sense of healing, and that's what healing is lots of releasing and then the integration phase, but understanding that you don't need to continue to carry all of the hurts and woundedness from the past. And 8 feels like a beautiful balanced number too. It always feels to me like a, if you put it on its side, it is very balanced. Well, it is either way really, but it's that infinity idea, but abundance as well. But to me, it feels like there's a different kind of stillness that's coming through in this. And it feels more like the stillness of appreciating your own magnificence. Like there's this beauty of finding that the treasure you've been looking for all this time is you, and that you found it, and now this is what you're taking forth out into the world. So there's this loveliness of just sort of appreciating that before you offer it to the world. Because to me, it feels like she's standing with it and she's saying, look where I've come from through this massive body of water, and this is what I've got with me. And I am just going to enjoy this for a moment and appreciate it and sit with it. So it's very cool. Oh, it says my speaker's not working, but you can still hear me?
Yeah.
Okay.
It was a little crackly, but I wasn't sure if it was me or you, so.
Okay.
It's all right. Sounds good to me.
Okay. So, sorry, I went on a bit there. Got carried off by the star. Week 4. Oh, that one flew out. This is the one, apparently. Oh, of course it did. It's my favorite. Oh. Do you want to go or me? Oh,
no, go ahead.
Cow spirit. The miracles are endless. Look at that beautiful cow with flowers everywhere. Sunflowers and a little flower crown. Number 6. So that's the second 6 we've had. So again, it's this sense of like abundance and just recognizing the abundance. And I think it feels like when it says the miracles are endless, what I love about cows is their gentleness. And it's like they are dedicated to their role of nourishing and teaching humanity somehow. But they have this, lovely appreciation for where they are. Sometimes you just see them munching on the grass, but other times you see them running around, enjoying things. They lie down, I just love that there's a simplicity to them. But of course, on a soul level, they're not simple. They're very enormous, loving beings. But it is that sense of like, enjoy the grass, enjoy the flowers, enjoy the simplicity, because that's where the miracles are. There are miracles in the fact that we are alive on this planet, like that this planet offers us things that support us every single day in so many ways.
Are there grapes over there? Is that grapes hanging on the side of it?
Yep, grapes.
Well, and it just kind of goes with the 4 forces I had, the spring autumn card. So no matter where you are, the spring happens. You're not stopping it.
Yeah.
Then receive the bounty of the autumn. That's when you receive.
Yeah.
So,
and actually it's funny because it just brought to mind too, when I walked my first pilgrimage, the one thing that I absolutely had on my must-do list was the transhumance, which is over the Pyrenees. But there's one day a year where they where they celebrate the cows because of everything that the cows give us. And they make really special cheeses in this region and stuff, and the meat, and, but they dress them up like this. They put flowers all over their horns and bells, and they have this festival for the cows. And it's when they move them from the lower mountains to the higher mountains as the spring begins. And so they have this 3-day festival where they are just celebrating cows, and the cows are running all over the place with their bells and their flowers on them. And it really is beautiful. And when I saw it, it was so moving and so lovely because they're my favorite animal. But you know, there was just this freedom, the cows going, but also the love that, like, these people really have such an appreciation for everything that the cows do for them. And I thought that there's something, like, every time we appreciate a small miracle, more show up. So again, it's like that trust thing that I was talking about earlier. The more you trust, the more opportunities you have to trust, the more miracles you begin to see and recognize and acknowledge and send gratitude for. That's when they're endless, because it's just one after the other after the other. They show up. Yeah.
Well, I ended up with 2 cards, and it's
Ooh.
fascinating, how similar they are. They're from the same suit. One is 7, and one is the Queen of Keys.
Oh.
And it's interesting in that they're both pondering their journey.
Oh.
He's at the top of the mountain and appreciating, back to what we've been talking about, appreciating your journey.
Yeah.
Enjoying the view. I mean, he's pondering his view and enjoying the sunshine. And then she also is pondering. She's on a
Yeah.
upper parapet of her castle, and she's overlooking her kingdom.
Yeah.
And it's there's just so much appreciation. They're
Yeah.
both it's just taking the time. So it feels like that last week into the next new moon is about, yet again, appreciating the journey,
Yeah.
what we've done, how far we've come.
The everyday
What,
miracles.
yeah, and all the journeys, yeah, even the cows are climbing to the higher.
Yeah.
So it's interesting how they all come together. And
It's wonderful.
because, like, as you said, it was about appreciating the cows and what they give,
Yeah.
sustain our lives. And so this is much the same.
Yeah. Exactly. And sometimes the day-to-day stuff gets lost. Like, the miracles get lost in the day-to-day stuff. But if you
Hmm.
think about it, having running water is a miracle. You know, the fact that our houses have heat running through them, that's a miracle. So it's like every time you recognize and acknowledge that we get to live in this miraculous planet, like birds take seeds to different places and plant them, and flowers pop up somewhere they haven't grown before because of a bird, you know, like it's a miracle. It really is. Life itself is this miracle. So
Well, and that's like if you're a mountain climber, or I mean, it's staying in the moment and appreciating each
yeah,
handhold, foothold you find that
right.
brings you higher. And so it's our journey here. It's so appreciating that every pebble, every ledge, every slip we have all gets us to the top of the mountain. And so
Yeah,
it's taking the time to, because this is taking the time to appreciate all the gifts that you had getting to where you've gotten so far.
yeah.
No
And
matter whether you feel like you're at the bottom right now, it's still a gift. It's still a gift.
yeah. And think too about, like, this card talked about perspective. So you have the perspective from underwater, then you come up above the water, and then he's got a different perspective again from on top of the hill, right? So like you
Hmm.
said, even if you're at the bottom, looking up the mountain is still beautiful. Looking down is just a different view. It's not better or worse, it's just a different view, a different perspective. Yeah, it's
Well,
lovely.
sure. And if you travel travel the oceans on on a great ship, you have the troughs, and
Yeah,
then you have the tops and the
yeah,
troughs.
yeah.
And so, I mean, it's just appreciating it all
That's right.
because it gets us where we're going.
Yeah, yeah.
Powerful theme this month.
It is. It's really cool. I like that. You know, this card came up with transformation, but also confidence, um,
Mm-hmm.
and certainty. I forgot that second word there. Um, because sometimes with transformation there can be, especially when it's the unknown, like you had the card the path unknown, and the Vikings we can't see where they're going. That can be a scary place for lots of people, but we've had all this stuff saying spirit has your back, you're supported, you have all the abundance you need. And it really is now about letting go of, we were rooted in those old structures that felt limiting. So now we're moving beyond those structures, and we have to trust that bridge is going to show up, like in that Indiana Jones film.
Well, and we had the false perception that we controlled everything.
Well, exactly.
That we had some kind of control, and we don't. We really don't. And the one constant in life is change. There's no stopping it. I mean, even rocks change over time.
That's
so
right. Yeah. Yeah.
And the sooner we learn to let go of our need to control, life becomes magical.
It does, doesn't it? And as you were talking, I just noticed one more thing. You see, they're all facing that direction.
Mm-hmm.
And guess what was here? They're all looking to the cow. So they are all kind of looking towards this sense of miracles and appreciating deeply the miracles that are around us. But they're all facing that way, which I think is very cool because it is a progression. You know, week one, and that was the final anchor week there as we head into the next moon. So they're all looking to the cow, which of course I totally appreciate because, you know,
well, yes.
I'm a cow fanatic. So
yes.
Yeah.
If I want to look at my directions, the only one that's looking the other is the paths unknown, and that isn't a bad thing to do either. Like you'll reflect on the past, ponder the safer path, but you don't have to be a sheeple.
Right.
So
exactly.
Be a Viking. Take a risk. Venture forward. I mean, yeah. So.
Oh my God! I just realized even she's facing that direction.
Mm-hmm.
They're all looking at the cow. Sorry, I was listening. Yeah, but yeah, be the brave Viking and venture forth. I mean, it is kind of cool to think, you know, some of the early peoples of the world would just head out in a boat just to see what was beyond the horizon that they saw every day. And how cool.
Well, here in America, I ponder the stamina of the pioneers that, I mean, I can't imagine walking across some of the areas in any part of the world in the Vikings, you know, they just go out on the water. They don't know where they're going. So, but we've gotten kind of stagnant as a species, some of us. So, I mean, it's important to get back into the flow of nature and our connection.
For sure. I mean, it's interesting because the world has come to us through the magic of the internet. We can visit wherever we want through a film or a documentary or whatever, but it means that we are becoming, that's where the fear builds up because we don't actually have to go out. But this is saying like it's time to, you know, break down those barriers again and venture forth. Be bold, be daring, because we are integrated now, like we are becoming those confident, integrated beings. When you're that deeply connected to spirit, it's like, what is there to be afraid of? Nothing really. Because even if you die, you know, you're just so connected. It's like there's no separation anyway, right? So. Mm-hmm. And we fear all these things, this stuff coming from the outside, but we are fluid energy.
Well, and what is fear? It's from our imagination.
Yeah, from our collective.
Created, right, and everything is created from imagination. So talk about something you can't see. So let's start imagining the happy magic stuff.
Exactly. The
Quit
miracle.
focusing, quit imagining the fearful things.
Imagine walking up a mountain and seeing a whole herd of cows with bells and flowers.
And flowers, yes.
It's so beautiful.
What's happier than that?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Well,
so it's a good month. Venture forth.
Venture forth boldly and trust. Spirit has your back. Totally. Yes. Okay. Well, it was lovely as usual. And I will see you again next month.
Yay.
Thanks, Valerie.
Thanks
Everyone.
Bye.